This is Terri Talks, where we converse about matters that are important to us and should be important to us because it impacts us not just today, but tomorrow and for generations to come. But if we can never get some of this stuff that we're talking about, I believe we could even heal generations, 10 generations back and 10 generations forward. So with that, Kevin, you challenged me, and not with a negative connotation, but you challenged me backstage about segregation and integration. And it was, another perspective. And that's why we have the same topic, but we're coming with different perspectives, because with all this buying and selling and making money and being in more, some of us have, I know for me, I'm a first generational wealth builder. I've probably made more in a short period of time than my lineage had over generations, right? And so there are some things that we just don't know and we should continue to have. And so we were talking about the impact of segregation, or lack thereof, and integration. And my thought was, hey, listen, I believe that integration was needed, but we just didn't leverage like we should have, in a way where we weren't dependent on the way out, but we leveraged the way out to continue to have ways out, under, over, and around. And then you pushed back and said, well, here's my thoughts. So share with our audience tonight what your thought was around segregation.
So I want to let the audience know that I'm a huge segregationist, and that moniker means that I believe that communities should be segregated. And here's the thing. I have historical evidence, but I have current evidence as well. So the Asian population, let me not say, the Korean population, the Chinese population, the Vietnamese population, all believe in segregation. So does the Italian population, the Polish population. You can go into any major city in the United States and see segregation. They call it Chinatown. My issue is, why is it that we can have a Chinatown and the United States and the world abroad socially accepts Chinatown, but we can't have Africatown? And here's the deal. The reason I believe in segregation is because the reason Chinatown works is because the money stays in their community. They have a bank in Philadelphia called Asian Bank. It's called Asian Bank. Why can't we have Ghanaian Bank, Senegalese Bank? Why haven't we tried to have Egyptian Bank? By the way, Egypt is in Africa, people. I want to remind people that everybody tries to say Egypt is the Middle East. It's in Africa. It's the continent of Africa. It's one of the 54 countries in Africa. But here's the deal. So that's current evidence, right? We see segregation working. If you go to Little Italy in New York, or in Philadelphia, if you go to Little Poland, all of these places are thriving communities because the people in those communities are recycling and circulating their money. They're circulating their economics, but they're not just circulating their economics. They're circulating their culture, their food, which encompasses everything, right? So let me just leave it as culture. Everything is being circulated in that community, which keeps it tight-knit and keeps it thriving. Segregation for us, or integration for us, I believe was a failed experiment because we also had little Africas. We call them, so you guys, everybody talks about Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is what we talked about backstage, right? Everyone talks about Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa, Oklahoma was not even the first Black Wall Street.
Wait a minute. You're saying Tulsa, Oklahoma was not the first Black Wall Street?
No, Tulsa, Oklahoma was the 9th Black Wall Street. Jackson Ward, Richmond, Virginia was the first Black Wall Street. And there's a young lady who created a bank there, a Black-owned bank. The name escapes me right now, but it'll come to me while I'm having the conversation. But she created the first Black-owned bank in the country, created in Richmond, Virginia, which was the first Black Wall Street. But there were 28 Black Wall Streets across the nation. We only hear about Tulsa, but that's because we've allowed them to control the media. But here's my deal about segregation. We don't have to go back as far as Tulsa. We can go back as far as Harlem in the late 60s, early 70s, right? Harlem experienced the Renaissance, where you had the greatest poets, the greatest writers, the greatest jazz musicians, right? We can go to my neighborhood of the Bronx, New York. I grew up in the neighborhood that created the art form that the biggest art form on the planet today. There is no art form that produces as much wealth as hip hop. The next closest genre is eclipsed by 37%. 37% more wealth in the hip hop community than the next closest genre, which is rock and roll, right? That was created by Black people in the Black community, segregated. And the reason it was created is because we were held out of we were segregated from these other art forms, for these other people, from these other communities. So we had to create for ourselves. Anytime you put a group of Black people together, we are going to create something dynamic and magnificent. What integration does to that is it allows another community to come in and co-opt and do what they've done to us since they brought us here in this country and build empires off the backs of the work. The hip hop community, the one of the wealthiest, but the most popular hip hop artist is a white person. The most popular hip hop artist in the world, Eminem, in the world. Now, I'm not talking about the United States. Snoop is the most recognizable. Snoop Dogg is the most recognizable. But the most popular hip hop artist, the most talked about hip hop artist in the entire world is Eminem. You can look it up if you want, if you dispute, and you might bring me some numbers that say, but the point is, that's what integration does. It allows us to create something that other people benefit from. What I am proposing is we go back to segregation. Stop fighting people to get into rooms that they don't want you in. And this is the crazy thing. This is the crazy thing about Black people that angers me.
Wait a minute. Keep that thought that angers you. So are you saying don't go into rooms that tolerate us, but go into rooms that celebrate us?
For sure.
Are you saying have the audacity to not try to get at tables and people that just simply tolerate us, but get into community where we can collaborate and be celebrated? Are you saying that?
Why not? We do it
Absolutely.
We do it, Terry, in every other facet of our life. If you walk into a family barbecue, let's say it was a family barbecue and it was held inside of a building, and there were 7 family members who you knew were your family. They were blood relatives inside of another room, inside of this big room, and the door was closed. And you knocked on the door, they opened it and said, "We don't want you in here." Would you fight to get in the room? So why in the world would you fight to get into a white bank? Or why would you fight to get into a white restaurant? I love to watch the Breakfast Club podcast on YouTube. And I was watching it today, and Nori, one of our greatest hip hop artists, Nori was having a conversation. I got you. Nori was having a conversation. In the conversation, he was in a restaurant that he frequents. Now, this is Nori. He's world famous, right? He's in a restaurant that he frequents, but the server was a white server, didn't know who he was. He ordered a bottle of wine. The server wanted him to leave because she wanted to turn the table over. She wanted to bring some more guests in. He had been there for a little bit. She wanted to bring some more guests in. He had ordered a bottle of wine. She called the police. 911, not just the police. She called 911 and said, "My life is in danger." Now, Houston's was the restaurant that he's in, and I'm putting them on blast. Houston's is white owned. My question is, why are we fighting to be in a Houston's when we can build our own restaurants and serve ourselves?